She was 8 months pregnant, happy, glowing, and hours away from becoming a mother. But the night she died, only one creature knew the truth: the dog lying beside her body. The husband cried. The community mourned, and detectives focused on the usual suspects. But then something unexpected happened. Every time his mother walked into the house, the dog, a dog known for being gentle, quiet, and loyal, transformed into a growling, shaking, furious animal. And that one detail, the way the dog reacted, is what finally revealed the killer no one wanted to believe. The question is how? Why was she killed? Who will gain more from her death? Welcome to True Crime Story HQ. Thanks to all my viewers and subscribers for your support. Stay tuned for daily true crime updates. Don't forget to subscribe. To understand what happened on March 17th, you have to go back. Back to when none of this seemed possible. Back to when Tasha and Darnell were just two people trying to build something good. Tasha Jerome Washington, born July 1989, Lansing, Michigan, middle child, 2 sisters, the one who always remembered birthdays, who brought extra lunch for kids who forgot theirs, who wanted to be a teacher since she was 7 years old. Her mother, Patricia, worked double shifts as a nurse. Her father, Jerome, delivered mail for 30 years. Every Sunday morning, same routine. Jerome would wake up early, cook breakfast, and put on his records. Always the same artist, Jimmy Cliff. You can get it if you really want. Many rivers to cross. The harder they come. Tasha would sit at the kitchen table doing homework while bacon sizzled and her dad sang off-key. She told people later that those mornings felt safe, like nothing bad could touch them. Jerome died in 2014, heart attack at work, 56 years old. Tasha was 25. She kept his entire vinyl collection. Every Sunday after he died, she'd play the same records. Same songs, same kitchen routine, just no one singing with her anymore. Tasha graduated Wayne State in 2011, elementary education. Got hired at Riverside Elementary the same year. 3rd grade. Parents said she had a gift. The kid who couldn't sit still, she'd let him hand out papers. The girl who couldn't read, she'd stay after school twice a week, no extra pay. The boy whose dad was in prison, she bought him new shoes with her own money when his wore through. One parent wrote in a review, "Miss Washington sees my child, really sees him." That's who Tasha was. Darnell Thompson grew up different. Born October 1987, East Detroit. Only child. His father left when he was 6. Packed a bag one Tuesday morning, said he was going to work. Never came back. Darnell's mother, Claudette, raised him alone. No help, no child support, no explanations. She worked as an office manager at a medical billing company. Sometimes took on weekend shifts just to keep the lights on. Darnell learned early. You don't complain, you don't ask for much, you take care of your mother because she sacrificed everything. Friends from back then say Claudette was devoted. Drove Darnell to basketball practice at 6 a.m. before work. Packed his lunches. Showed up to every game. Told him he could be anything he wanted. But she also told him something else. Over and over. It's you and me, baby. We don't need anyone else. Darnell went to community college. Got certified in HVAC repair. Started working for Moribond Climate Control in 2008. 20 years old, steady paycheck, still living with his mother. He dated a few women over the years. None of them lasted long. His mother always found something wrong. She's not right for you. You can do better. Why rush into anything? And Darnell, loyal son that he was, listened. Until 2013, August 2013, a mutual friend's barbecue in Dearborn. Darnell showed up after work, still in his company shirt. Tasha was there with her sisters. She was laughing at something, head thrown back, completely herself. Darnell told people later he noticed her immediately. Not because she was loud or trying to get attention, but because she seemed comfortable, like she knew exactly who she was. They talked for 3 hours. He told her about fixing air conditioners. She told him about her 3rd graders. He mentioned the Celtics. She said basketball was boring, football was better. He laughed, said he'd never watched a full football game in his life. She said, "That's a problem we can fix." He asked for her number before he left. She gave it to him. And 3 days later, he called. Not texted. Called. Tatcha told her sister that's when she knew he was different. December 29th, 2013. 6 months into dating. Tatcha decided Darnell needed an education. Real football. Not basketball. She took him to a sports bar on 8 Mile. Detroit Lions versus Green Bay Packers. Lions were having a rough season. Packers came in strong. Aaron Rodgers threw 3 touchdowns. Final score, Packers 31, Lions 24. Darnell, who'd never cared about football in his life, got caught up in it. The strategy, the precision, the way Rodgers read defenses. By the fourth quarter, he was yelling at the screen. Tatcha looked at him and said, "You're supposed to root for Detroit." He said, "But Green Bay's better." She wanted him to pick the Dallas Cowboys, her team since she was a kid. He chose the Packers instead. She gave him grief about it for the next 6 years. "You picked the wrong team," she'd say. "I picked the right one," he'd shoot back. It became their thing. They got married June 2016. Small ceremony, 40 people. Tatcha's family, Darnell's mother, close friends. Tatcha wore her grandmother's pearls. Darnell wore a suit he'd bought the week before. During the reception, someone asked Darnell's mother, Claudette, how she felt about gaining a daughter-in-law. She smiled. Tight, thin, said, "We'll see how it goes." People laughed, thought it was a joke. Tatcha and Darnell moved into an apartment in Southfield. Small, 1 bedroom, loud neighbors, but it was theirs. Tatcha kept teaching. Darnell kept working. They saved money, talked about buying a house, started looking in. 2017, September 2017. They bought 2847 Fairview Drive, 3 bedrooms, small yard, quiet street. Needed work, but Darnell could fix most of it himself. Tatcha painted the kitchen yellow. Darnell installed new fixtures. They argued over furniture. She wanted a sectional. He wanted a recliner. They compromised. Got both. For the first time in his life, Darnell felt like he'd built something that was just his, not his mother's, not dependent on anyone else's approval. His. November 2017. Tatcha surprised Darnell with a trip to the local shelter. "We need a dog," she said. He said they weren't ready. She said, "We're ready." They walked through rows of kennels, pit bulls, German shepherds, chihuahuas, mutts. And then Tatcha stopped. 3-year-old Labrador mix, surrendered by previous owners who were moving. Calm, friendly, housebroken. Tatcha crouched down. The dog walked up to the kennel door, tail wagging slow. She put her hand through the bars. He licked her fingers. She looked at Darnell and said, "This one." They named him Booker, after Booker T. Washington. Tatcha's choice. She said, "He's got a dignified face. He needs a dignified name." Booker became part of the routine, slept at the foot of their bed, followed Tatcha from room to room, sat by the door every day at 3:30, waiting for her to come home from school. Darnell called him Tatcha's shadow. She called him our practice baby, because by mid-2018 they'd started talking about the real thing, July 2018. Tatcha took the test on a Sunday morning. Positive. She told Darnell while he was fixing the kitchen sink. He stood up so fast he hit his head on the cabinet. Didn't even feel it, just stared at her. "Are you serious?" She nodded. He picked her up, spun her around. Booker started barking, confused by the excitement. Tatcha was 29. Darnell was 30. Everything they'd planned, everything they'd worked for, was finally happening. They started preparing immediately. Turned the second bedroom into a nursery. Painted it yellow, Tatcha's favorite color. Darnell assembled the crib in February. Took him 4 hours. Instructions in 3 languages, none of them helpful. But he got it done. Tatcha folded tiny clothes, onesies, socks so small they didn't look real. She'd hold them up and say, "A whole person is going to fit in this." They found out in December 2018. A girl. Tasha cried in the doctor's office. Happy tears. She'd always wanted a daughter. They named her before she was even born. Zara Tasha Thompson. Zara, meaning princess in Arabic. Tasha, after her mother. By March 2019, Tasha was 8 months along. Due date, April 8th. 3 weeks away. Everything was ready. Hospital bag packed by the front door. Car seat installed in Darnell's truck. Freezer full of pre-made meals. Darnell had arranged 2 weeks paternity leave. Tasha's principal had hired a substitute to cover the rest of the school year. Her students made her cards. We can't wait to meet baby Zara. You're going to be the best mom. One kid drew a picture of Tasha holding a baby, both of them smiling. She taped it to the fridge. March 17th, 2019. 3 weeks from the due date. Tasha had a doctor's appointment that morning. Everything checked out fine. Baby's heart beat strong. No complications. She texted her sister at 10:15 a.m. 3 more weeks. I'm so ready. The nursery was finished. The crib was assembled. Darnell had paternity leave approved. Tasha's hospital bag sat waiting. Everything was ready. Except for one person. One person who'd been watching this life get built. Watching her son pull further away. Watching another woman take the center of his world. And that person had decided she'd had enough. Because while Tasha and Darnell were preparing for their daughter, Darnell's mother, Claudette, was preparing for something else. Have you ever known someone who smiled to your face while wishing your life would fall apart? Tasha had. She just didn't know how far that person would go. If you're still with me, share this story. Because what happened to Tasha holds lessons we all need to hear. Lessons about boundaries, about control, about seeing warning signs before it's too late. Now, let's continue. Claudette Thompson raised her son alone. No father in the picture, no child support, no help. She worked double shifts to keep Darnell in decent schools. She drove him to basketball practice at 6 a.m. before her own job started. Made his lunches, washed his uniforms, showed up to every game. And in her mind, that meant he owed her something. His loyalty, his time, his future, maybe even his love. Claudette was born in Detroit, 1967. She graduated high school in 1985, started working as a receptionist at a medical office, met Ronald Davis at a company Christmas party in 1985. He worked in billing, tall, charming, told her she had a beautiful smile. They were married by June 1986. She was 19 years old. Darnell was born October 1987, their only child. For the first few years, things seemed normal. Ronald worked. Claudette stayed home with the baby. Went back to work part-time when Darnell turned 2. They lived in a small house in East Detroit. Paid their bills. Went to church on Sundays. But by 1993, the marriage was unraveling. Ronald was distant. Came home late. Made excuses. And then Claudette found out why. He was having an affair with a woman from his office. Had been for over a year. When she confronted him, he didn't deny it. Just said he wanted out. Packed his things that same week. Divorce was finalized in 1994. He moved to Atlanta with the other woman. Sent child support checks for a while, then those stopped too. Called Darnell on birthdays for a few years. Then that stopped as well. By the time Darnell was 10, his father was just a name. A memory that got blurrier every year. Friends who knew Claudette before the divorce describe her as fun, easygoing, someone who laughed easily, who didn't stress over small things. But after Ronald left, something shifted. She became rigid, controlling. Everything had to be a certain way. She told people, "I'm never letting anyone hurt me like that again." But what she really meant was, "I'm never letting anyone leave me again." And that included her son. She threw herself into Darnell's life. Every decision, every choice, she was there. What classes he took, what friends he had, what colleges he applied to. She told him it was because she cared, because she wanted the best for him, because he was all she had. "It's you and me, baby. We don't need anyone else." She said it so often it became his truth too. Darnell dated a few women over the years. None of them lasted. First girlfriend, 2006. College sweetheart. Quiet girl, studying nursing. Claudette met her once and immediately started in. She's not ambitious enough for you. You need someone who's going somewhere. Darnell tried to ignore it at first, but his mother kept pushing. Every phone call, every visit. You can do better, baby. Trust me. The relationship ended after 6 months. Darnell told the girl it wasn't working out, but really, he just couldn't take the pressure anymore. Second girlfriend, 2009, dental hygienist. Made decent money, had her own apartment, seemed responsible. Claudette's response? She's just after your money. Darnell was making $48,000 a year as an HVAC technician. Not exactly rich, but his mother convinced him this woman saw him as a meal ticket. You're too trusting, Darnell. I'm just looking out for you. That relationship lasted 8 months before Darnell ended it. Same reason. Too much interference. Too much noise. Third girlfriend, 2011. Another teacher. This one, Claudette seemed to approve of at first. Invited her to family dinners. Asked about her job. Smiled when they were together. Darnell thought maybe this time would be different. Maybe his mother was finally ready to let him move on. Then he mentioned engagement. Just mentioned it. Told his mother he was thinking about proposing. The shift was immediate. You're too young to get married. You barely know her. What's the rush? Every conversation after that, Claudette found reasons why it was a bad idea. She's too demanding. She's changing you. You're not yourself around her. By 2012, the relationship was over. Darnell told himself it was for the best. That maybe his mother was right. That he wasn't ready. But then he met Tasha. And for the first time in his life, Darnell didn't listen to his mother's objections. He kept seeing her anyway. Kept building something with her. And Claudette saw exactly what that meant. She was losing control. Losing her grip on the one person who'd never left her. And she wasn't going to let that happen quietly. When Darnell brought Tasha home in early 2014, Claudette's reaction was cold from the start. No hug, no smile, just a once-over and a tight-lipped, "Nice to meet you." Tasha extended her hand. Claudette shook it limply. The whole visit, Claudette barely spoke to her. Asked Darnell questions, ignored Tasha's attempts at conversation. When they left, Darnell tried to brush it off. She's just protective. Give her time. But Tasha felt it. The chill. The hostility. She told her sister later, "His mother looked at me like I was stealing something from her." The objections started immediately. 2014. She's too young for you. Tasha was 25. Darnell was 27. Not exactly a scandalous age gap, but Claudette used it like ammunition. She's still figuring out who she is. You need someone more mature. 2015. She's controlling. Look how she's changing you. What changed? Darnell started spending weekends with Tasha's family. Started missing his mother's Sunday dinners. Started building a life that didn't revolve around Claudette. That was the real problem. Not Tasha. The fact that Darnell was pulling away. Engagement announcement. Darnell called his mother, told her he'd proposed. Silence on the other end. Then, "You're making a mistake. You barely know her." He'd been with Tasha for 3 years at that point. "Mom, I love her. I want to marry her." Claudette's response? "If you do this, don't expect me to be happy about it." She didn't attend the engagement party, made an excuse about work, sent a card with no message inside, just her name signed at the bottom. The wedding was June 2016. Small ceremony. 40 guests. Tasha's family filled most of the seats. Claudette showed up late, sat in the back row, arms crossed. Didn't cry during the vows. Didn't smile during the reception. Left early. Didn't speak to Tasha's family. Didn't congratulate the couple. Just hugged Darnell stiffly on her way out and said, "I hope you know what you're doing." After the marriage, things escalated. Claudette's weekly phone calls turned daily. She'd call in the morning before Darnell left for work. Call during his lunch break. Call again in the evening. If he didn't answer, she'd leave voicemails. Just checking on you, baby. Call me back. She started showing up unannounced, just dropping by the house on Saturday afternoons. I was in the neighborhood. She'd walk through their home, commenting on everything. You painted the kitchen this color? It's so dark. Why is the furniture arranged like this? This place needs better lighting. Every visit was a critique. Every comment was a jab. She told Darnell in text messages later recovered by police. She's trying to replace me in your life. I can see it. She wants you to forget about your own mother. Darnell would defend Tasha, but his mother always had a response. Always had a way of making him feel guilty. I sacrificed everything for you, and now you're choosing her over me. July 2018. Tasha was pregnant. They told Claudette over dinner at her house. Tasha was nervous, hopeful that maybe a grandchild would soften things, that maybe this would be the turning point. Darnell said, "Mom, we have some news. Tasha's pregnant." Claudette put down her fork, stared at them. No smile, no excitement, just, "Oh." That was it. Just, "Oh." Later that night, she texted Darnell, "A baby won't fix whatever's missing in your marriage." The incidents piled up over the next 9 months. September 2018. Family dinner. Tasha was 3 months along, starting to show. Claudette looked at her and said in front of everyone, "You don't look pregnant yet. Are you sure you're really showing?" Tasha's face went red. Darnell's aunt jumped in, changed the subject. But the damage was done. October 2018. Claudette bought baby clothes, showed up at their house with bags full. Pink onesies, dresses, blankets. Didn't ask what they needed, didn't ask their style preferences, just bought what she wanted. Tasha politely said, "Thank you, but we actually already have a lot of clothes." Claudette's face hardened. "I'm the grandmother. I have a right to buy things for my grandchild." The way she said "my," like the baby belonged to her, not to Tasha and Darnell, to her. November 2018. Claudette told Darnell he should open a separate bank account. "Just in case things don't work out, you need to protect yourself." Darnell told her that wasn't necessary, that his marriage was solid. She said, "You never know. Better safe than sorry." December 2018. Christmas dinner at Claudette's house. Extended family was there. Claudette served everyone hot plates, roast beef, mashed potatoes, vegetables steaming. Everyone started eating. Then Tasha got her plate. Cold. Everything on it was cold, like it had been sitting out for an hour. She looked at Claudette, confused. Claudette said, "Oh, I thought you already ate." Tasha hadn't. Everyone at the table knew she hadn't. But no one said anything. Darnell heated her food in the microwave. The whole room was silent. January 2019. Claudette suggested to Darnell that Tasha should move back with her mother after the baby was born. "You'll be working all day. You won't be able to help much. Her mother can take care of her." Darnell refused, told his mother they'd figure it out together. Claudette's response: "You're going to regret this." February 2019. 1 month before the murder. Claudette called Tasha directly. First time in months she'd spoken to her without Darnell present. Tasha answered, hoping maybe this was an olive branch. Claudette said, "Are you sure Darnell really wants this baby? He never said he wanted kids when I asked him." Tasha hung up, hands shaking. She told Darnell that night. He called his mother, told her to stop, told her she was crossing lines. Claudette said, "I'm just being honest. Someone has to be." By early March, Tasha had had enough. She told Darnell his mother couldn't come to the hospital for the birth. Not in the room, not in the waiting area, not at all. "I can't do this anymore. Your mother has disrespected me for 5 years. I'm not having her there for the most vulnerable moment of my life." Darnell understood. He'd seen it too. Tried to excuse it, tried to keep the peace, but even he couldn't deny it anymore. "I'll tell her," he said. Tasha looked at him. "And I need you to set boundaries, real ones, or I don't know how we move forward." March 12, 2019, Darnell called his mother, told her she wouldn't be welcome at the hospital when Tasha gave birth, told her she needed to respect his wife, told her boundaries were being set, and she needed to follow them. Claudette's voice went cold. "You're choosing her over me." Darnell said, "I'm choosing my family. Tasha is my family." Claudette's response, "After everything I did for you, after everything I sacrificed, you wouldn't even exist without me." Then she hung up. Claudette didn't call back, didn't text, didn't apologize. For 5 days, silence. Darnell thought maybe she was finally backing off. Maybe she'd finally accepted reality. Maybe this was the wake-up call she needed. But he was wrong. Because on March 17th, she showed up anyway. And what happened next would destroy everything. What would you do if your own mother refused to accept the person you love? Was Darnell right, choosing his wife over his mother? Would you choose your partner or your parent? Drop your opinions in the comments. March 17th started like any other Friday. Tasha had a doctor's appointment at 9 a.m. Everything looked good. Baby's heartbeat strong. No complications. 3 weeks to go. She texted her sister at 10:15. 3 more weeks. I'm so ready. 9:45 a.m. Darnell leaves for work. Tasha is home, comfortable, listening to music. Booker, the dog, is lying on the couch near her. Ring doorbell footage shows Darnell's truck pulling out of the driveway. He waves at the camera. Normal morning, normal day. He had no idea he'd never see his wife alive again. 10:30 a.m. Tasha texts Darnell, "Don't forget to pick up dog food on way home." He responds immediately, "Got it. Love you." That was the last text exchange between them. The last words she'd ever send him. Love you. 2 words that would haunt him forever. 12:10 p.m. Across the street, Mrs. Elena Rodriguez is watering her front garden. 67 years old, retired schoolteacher, lived on Fairview Drive for 30 years. She notices a silver Honda Accord pull into Tasha and Darnell's driveway. She recognizes the car, Darnell's mother, Claudette. Mrs. Rodriguez watches as Claudette parks, gets out, walks to the front door. Tasha answers. They stand at the door for a minute. Mrs. Rodriguez says later in her testimony, Tasha looked surprised, like she wasn't expecting anyone. Then they went inside. The door closed. No one knows exactly what they talked about at first. Maybe Claudette came to apologize. Maybe she came to make one last plea for control. Maybe she never intended for things to go as far as they did. But at some point, words turned to shouting. 1:45 p.m. Mrs. Rodriguez is back inside her house. She hears raised voices coming from across the street. Can't make out words, but the tone is unmistakable, aggressive, angry. 2 women screaming at each other. Then she hears something heavy fall. A crash. Then silence. Complete silence. Mrs. Rodriguez stands at her window looking at the house, debating. Should she call the police? But it's family business, right? People argue. It's not her place to interfere, so she doesn't call, and she'll carry that guilt for the rest of her life. Forensic investigators later pieced together what happened inside that living room. An argument that escalated. Claudette standing near the fireplace. Tasha near the couch. Words turning vicious. Things said that couldn't be taken back. At some point, Tasha told Claudette to leave. Get out. Go home. But Claudette refused. This was her son's house. Her grandchild. She had a right to be there. Tasha moved toward the front door. Maybe to open it. Maybe to leave herself. Maybe just to create distance. But Claudette grabbed her arm. Physical evidence later showed defensive bruising on Claudette's wrist, matched perfectly with Tasha's nail scratches. Tasha had fought to pull away, and that's when the struggle began. Claudette pushed Tasha backward, hard enough that Tasha lost her balance. She was 8 months pregnant, center of gravity off, couldn't catch herself. Her hip struck the edge of the coffee table, sharp corner, full force, and she went down face first onto the floor. The impact caused severe abdominal trauma. The baby's placenta detached from the uterine wall. Zara, still inside her mother, started dying immediately. The medical examiner confirmed later. That fall alone might have been survivable, if someone had called 911 right then. If paramedics had arrived within minutes, Tatcha might have lived. The baby might have lived. Emergency C-section, trauma care. It was possible. But that's not what happened. Because Tatcha was still conscious, struggling to breathe, pain radiating through her abdomen, reaching for her phone on the couch, trying to call for help. And Claudette saw her reaching. Claudette didn't call 911. She didn't try to help. She panicked. And in that panic, she made a choice. A choice that turned an accident into murder. Evidence reconstruction shows Claudette grabbed a throw pillow from the couch, one of the decorative ones Tasha had picked out when they moved in. Soft, light blue, and Claudette pressed it over Tasha's face. Tasha fought back. Scratch marks later found on Claudette's forearms. Deep, desperate. A woman fighting for her life and her baby's life. But Tasha was already injured, already weakened, and Claudette was fueled by panic and rage. The struggle lasted approximately 90 seconds. 90 seconds of Tasha clawing, thrashing, trying to breathe, until she couldn't anymore. Cause of death: asphyxiation. The baby died from lack of oxygen. Zara never took a breath, never opened her eyes. Died in her mother's womb while her grandmother smothered the life out of both of them. Booker was in the room the entire time. Investigators found clumps of dog fur near the body, evidence he'd been frantically moving around, pacing, whining. He barked. Witnesses 2 houses down heard barking around 2 p.m., loud, continuous, but no one came. People hear dogs bark all the time. They don't think murder, they think mailman or squirrel, so no one came. 2:30 p.m. Claudette stood there for several minutes, staring at what she'd done. Tasha's body on the floor, not moving, not breathing, and Booker standing guard, shaking violently, growling at Claudette every time she moved. Then Claudette started cleaning. Not calling for help, not trying CPR. Cleaning, covering her tracks. Evidence shows she wiped down surfaces she'd touched. Doorknobs, the mantel, the coffee table. Picked up the broken piece of the coffee table edge where Tasha had hit her hip. Sharp corner, snapped clean off, blood on it. Claudette threw it in the kitchen trash, buried it under other garbage. Then she noticed blood on her hands. Tasha's blood from the scratches. Her own blood from where Tasha had fought back. She washed her hands in the kitchen sink, scrubbed them. Forensics later found diluted blood in the drain trap. Mixed DNA. Tasha's and Claudette's. Proof they'd struggled. Proof Claudette tried to wash away the evidence. Her sweater had a small tear from the struggle. Right sleeve. Where Tasha had grabbed her, tried to pull her off. Claudette removed the sweater. 3:45 p.m. Claudette leaves. Ring doorbell footage captured it all. Her exiting the front door, looking around nervously. Left, right, checking if anyone's watching. Then walking quickly to her car, getting in, sitting there for a moment, hands on the steering wheel. Then she drives away. Silver Honda Accord, heading back toward work. 3:50 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Tasha lies dead in the living room. Booker stays beside her body. Won't leave, won't eat, won't drink, just lies there, pressed against her side. Eventually he starts howling, long, mournful. The sound of a dog who knows his person is gone. 6:30 p.m. Darnell arrives home from work. He's tired, long day, thinking about what to make for dinner. He opens the front door and immediately sees Booker. The dog is shaking violently, fur standing on end, whining. Darnell's first thought is something's wrong with the dog. Then he sees Tasha's body, on the floor, face down, not moving. He screams, drops his keys, runs to her, tries to turn her over. She's cold, stiff. He screams again, pulls out his phone, calls 911. The 911 call is almost incomprehensible. Darnell barely coherent. "My wife, she's not breathing. Please." The operator tries to keep him calm. "Sir, I need you to stay calm. What's your address? Darnell, choking on the words. 2847 Fairview. She's pregnant. Please hurry. Operator. Help is on the way. Is she conscious? Darnell. No, she's cold. Oh God. His voice breaks. Sobs. The operator stays on the line, tries to walk him through CPR. But Darnell can't. Can't think. Can't process. His wife is dead. His baby is dead. His entire world just ended. Paramedics arrived 8 minutes later. Too late. Tasha Thompson was pronounced dead at the scene. Her unborn daughter, Zara, died with her. The nursery upstairs with yellow walls and a white crib would stay empty. The hospital bag by the door would never be used. The life they'd built, the future they'd planned, gone in 90 seconds. And a murder investigation began. Homicide detective Lisa Monroe arrived at 7:15 p.m., 17 years with Detroit PD, 34 closed murder cases. Seen everything: domestic violence, gang shootings, random acts of brutality. But walking into 2847 Fairview Drive that night, she had a gut instinct that something wasn't adding up. First observation: no forced entry. Doors locked from inside. Windows intact. No signs of break-in. No shattered glass. No pry marks. Whoever killed Tasha Thompson didn't break in. They were let in. Second observation: nothing stolen. TV still on the wall. Laptop on the kitchen counter. Tasha's purse sitting on the hallway table, cash still inside. Wedding ring still on her finger. Robbery ruled out immediately. Third observation: position of the body. Face down. Hands near her face. Defensive position. Someone trying to protect themselves. Bruising on her abdomen, her face, her chest. And petechial hemorrhaging in her eyes. Small red dots. Burst blood vessels. Classic sign of asphyxiation. Someone cut off her air supply. Fourth observation: the dog. Booker wouldn't let anyone near the body. Growled at the paramedics. Snapped at the first officers on scene. They had to call animal control to physically remove him. Even in the patrol car, he continued barking and whimpering. Monroe made a note: dog extremely protective of victim, possible witness to attack. Darnell was barely functional, sitting on the front steps, hands shaking, tears streaming down his face. Kept saying, "I should have been here," over and over. "I should have been here." Detective Monroe knew grief when she saw it. This was real, raw, unfiltered. But she also knew statistics. FBI data shows that in cases of pregnant women murdered, intimate partners are suspects in 45% of cases. So she had to ask the questions, had to rule him out. Monroe sat down next to Darnell, kept her voice gentle. "When did you last see your wife?" Darnell wiped his face. "This morning, around 9:45. I left for work." Monroe: "Any arguments? Problems in the marriage?" Darnell shook his head. "No. We were happy. The baby's coming soon. Everything was good." Monroe: "Anyone who might want to hurt her?" Darnell looked at her like the question didn't make sense. "No. Everyone loved Tasha." But Monroe had to verify. Within an hour, she had officers calling Darnell's employer. Moribond Climate Control confirmed he clocked in at 10:15 a.m., worked until 6 p.m. Co-workers saw him throughout the day. Lunch break at noon, ate with 3 other guys. Back on the job by 12:45. Phone GPS data matched his work location all day. No gaps, no unexplained absences. Alibi solid. Darnell Thompson didn't kill his wife. Day 2, March 18th. Autopsy results came in. Dr. Raymond Foster, medical examiner, 22 years of experience. His findings were clear. Time of death, between 1:30 p.m. and 3:00 p.m. Cause of death, asphyxiation. Someone smothered her. Contributing factor, blunt force trauma to the abdomen causing placental abruption. The fall had started the process. The smothering finished it. Injuries documented included bruising on face, chest, and abdomen. Defensive wounds on hands and arms. Scratches. Evidence of a struggle. Tasha fought back. She didn't go quietly. Toxicology came back negative. No drugs, no alcohol, Nothing in her system. Fetal examination confirmed what everyone already knew, but didn't want to hear. Baby girl. Estimated 36 weeks gestation. Full term. Viable. Died from oxygen deprivation when her mother was smothered. No congenital abnormalities. She was healthy. She would have lived. Her name was going to be Zara. Evidence collected from the scene started painting a picture. A throw pillow with saliva and makeup smears. Used in the smothering. Broken corner piece from the coffee table. Found in the kitchen trash, not where it broke. Someone had moved it. Vacuum contents from the living room. Fibers. Hair samples. Things that didn't belong. Swabs from doorknobs and surfaces. Looking for foreign DNA. Contents of the kitchen trash. And Ring doorbell footage. Digital eyes that saw everyone who came and went. Detective Monroe's working theory by day 2 was simple. Taka knew her killer. Someone she'd let inside willingly. Someone who had access to the house. Someone she wasn't afraid of, until it was too late. The suspect pool was small. Darnell was cleared. Alibi airtight. Tacha's mother, Patricia, was at work. Hospital verified. Tacha's sisters, both at work. Employers confirmed. So who else had access? Who else would Tacha open the door for on a Friday afternoon? March 19th. 3 days after the murder. Detective Monroe sat down with Tacha's family. Mother, sisters, friends, asking the same questions. Did Tacha have enemies? Anyone who'd want to hurt her? The answers were all the same. No. Tacha was loved. Tacha was kind. Tacha didn't have enemies. But when Monroe asked Tacha's sister Shanice if anyone had issues with Tacha, there was a long pause, a hesitation. Then Shanice spoke. Tacha never said anyone threatened her or anything. But Darnell's mom, Claudette, they didn't get along. Tacha told me 2 weeks ago that she'd banned her from the hospital for the birth. Said Claudette had been nasty to her for years. Monroe leaned forward. Nasty how? Shanice sighed. Passive-aggressive stuff mostly. Comments about how Tacha wasn't good enough. How she was taking Darnell away from his mother. Always undermining her. Always making her feel small. Monroe. Did Tacha ever feel threatened? By her? Shanice thought about it. Not physically, but emotionally? Yeah, Tacha said it was exhausting, like walking on eggshells, never knowing when Claudette would strike next. The investigation shifted. On March 20th, 3 days after the murder, Detective Monroe called Claudette Thompson. Asked her to come in for a voluntary interview. Just routine questions, she said. Nothing to worry about. Just trying to get a full picture of Tasha's life. Claudette agreed immediately. Said she'd be happy to help. Said she wanted to do anything she could. Monroe scheduled it for the next day. March 21st, 2 p.m. But something else happened that day. Something no one expected. Something involving a dog who refused to forget. Because while humans can lie, animals don't. And Booker was about to tell Detective Monroe everything she needed to know. Booker wouldn't eat. For 3 days after Tacha's death, the dog refused food. Darnell tried everything. Dog food, chicken, treats. Nothing. Booker just lay in the spot where Tacha died, staring at nothing, shaking. Wouldn't move, wouldn't sleep. Just lay there on the living room floor where her body had been, like he was waiting for her to come back. March 19th, 2019, day after the murder. Darnell's mother came to the house that evening. She brought food, casseroles, said she wanted to be there for her son. Darnell was too broken to think clearly, too devastated to question it. He let her in. Claudette walked through the front door. Booker was lying in the hallway, hadn't moved in hours. The moment Claudette stepped inside, Booker's behavior changed. Completely. Instantly. Darnell described it later in his testimony. He went from totally shut down to, I don't even know how to describe it. He jumped up, started barking. Not normal barking, aggressive, terrified barking. His fur was standing up on his back. He was growling at my mom. I'd never seen him like that. Never. Claudette's response was calm. Too calm. He's traumatized. He found Tasha. He's scared of everyone. Then she said, "Let me try to calm him." She took a step toward Booker. The dog lunged, teeth bared, snarling. Darnell had to physically restrain him, grabbed his collar, dragged him into the bedroom, shut the door. Booker threw himself against it, barking, clawing, like he was trying to protect Darnell from his own mother. Darnell thought it was grief, trauma. The dog had witnessed something terrible, found his owner dead. Of course he was acting strange. But here's what Darnell didn't know yet. Booker had been calm around the police officers, calm around the paramedics, calm around Tasha's family when they came by to offer support, calm around everyone, except Claudette. March 20th, third day. Claudette came back again. Darnell was making funeral arrangements, picking out a casket, writing an obituary. His mother was helping with phone calls, notifying relatives, handling logistics. And every single time she walked past Booker, the reaction was the same. Documented incidents that day. Claudette walked through the living room. Booker growled from the bedroom door. Low, guttural. Claudette sat on the couch. Booker refused to enter the room, stood in the hallway, watching her. Claudette picked up a blanket Tasha had used, one of her favorites. Soft yellow throw. Booker barked frantically, like she was desecrating something sacred. Claudette reached toward Darnell to comfort him. Booker tried to position himself between them, physically blocking her access. Darnell was confused, told his mother, "I couldn't understand it. Booker knew you. You'd been around since we got him. He'd never acted like this before." Claudette had an explanation for everything. "Dogs can sense grief. He probably thinks I'm a stranger now. Give him time. He'll adjust." But something else happened on March 21st. Detective Monroe came to the house to return some of Tasha's personal belongings, jewelry. Her wedding ring had been taken as evidence, now released. Monroe handed the items to Darnell, and she witnessed Booker's behavior for herself. Booker was calm when Monroe arrived, walked up to her, sniffed her hand, let her pet him, followed her into the living room without issue. Normal dog behavior, friendly. Then Claudette arrived. She still had a key to the house, let herself in. The moment she walked through that door, Booker transformed. Monroe watched it happen in real time. The dog's entire body went rigid, fur raised along his spine, ears back, lips pulled back showing teeth. And then he started barking, aggressive, targeted, all of it directed at Claudette. Monroe made notes in her case file later that day. Upon Claudette Thompson's entry, dog exhibited extreme stress response, barking, growling, attempting to position himself between her and victim's husband. Behavior inconsistent with general trauma response, appears specifically targeted toward Claudette Thompson. That note changed everything. March 22nd, Detective Monroe did something unusual. She called Dr. Terrence Blake, a veterinary behaviorist who'd worked with police K-9 units for 15 years, PhD in animal behavior from Michigan State, consulted on cases where dogs were witnesses to crimes, specialization, K-9 memory and trauma response. If anyone could explain what Monroe was seeing, it was him. Phone consultation. Monroe explained the situation. Dr. Blake listened, then asked questions. "Tell me exactly what you're seeing." Monroe, a 3-year-old lab mix, well-trained, no history of aggression, found his owner dead. Since then, won't react to anyone except one specific person, the victim's mother-in-law. Blake, and how does he react? Monroe, extreme fear aggression, fur raised, teeth bared, won't let her near him or the husband. Blake, has she been around the dog before? Monroe, yes, for 2 years, normal interactions. Blake paused. Then something changed his association with her. Monroe, like what? Dr. Blake, dogs form scent memories tied to emotional experiences. If this dog witnessed a traumatic event, and this woman was present during that trauma, his brain created a permanent association. Her scent now triggers a fear response. It's not conscious. It's automatic. The dog's amygdala, the fear center of his brain, lights up when he detects her scent. He can't control it any more than you can control your heart rate when you're scared. Another pause. Then Blake continued. Detective, I've seen this before. A dog who witnesses violence will remember the perpetrator's scent. It's instinct, survival mechanism. In the wild, remembering the scent of a predator keeps you alive. This dog's brain is telling him that woman is dangerous, and he's trying to protect the only family he has left. Monroe, are you saying this dog might have witnessed the murder? Blake, I'm saying if you have a suspect, and the dog reacts this strongly to that specific person, you should take it seriously. Dogs don't lie. They don't manipulate. They react based on memory and instinct. And this dog remembers something about that woman. Something bad. Monroe hung up. Pulled Claudette Thompson's interview to the top of her case file and started looking closer. March 23rd, Claudette's voluntary interview. She arrived at the police station at 2 p.m., dressed professionally. Black slacks, cream blouse, hair pulled back, calm demeanor. Walked in like she had nothing to hide. Told Detective Monroe she wanted to help in any way possible. Said she couldn't believe someone would hurt Taka. Said she just wanted justice for her daughter-in-law. But Monroe had a plan. The setup was simple. Interview room with camera. Detective Monroe and Detective James Wu, her partner. Recording started at 2:07 p.m. Standard interview. But before Claudette arrived, Monroe did something unconventional. Something that could have gotten her in trouble if it went wrong. She had Darnell bring Booker to the station, put the dog in an adjacent observation room. Wanted to see what would happen when Claudette walked past. Wanted to see if the dog's reaction was consistent. If it was real. Claudette walked down the hallway toward the interview room. Confident stride. Head up. Past the observation room where Booker was waiting. The dog went ballistic. Threw himself at the door, barking, clawing, snarling. So violent that 3 officers had to restrain him. Hold him back. The sound echoed through the entire station. Everyone heard it, including Claudette. She stopped, turned. What's wrong with that dog? Monroe, calm. He's been having behavioral issues since the murder. We're having him evaluated. Claudette, well, he's clearly traumatized. What Claudette didn't know was that Booker had been calm all morning, friendly with every officer in the building, ate treats, let people pet him. Normal, well-adjusted dog, until she showed up. Until her scent hit his nose. Then he remembered. And he couldn't forget. Claudette sat across from Detective Monroe for 2 hours. She cried, expressed shock, said she couldn't believe someone would hurt Tasha, called her such a sweet girl, said she was devastated for Darnell, but her story kept changing, and Detective Monroe noticed every single inconsistency. Initial question. Simple. Direct. Monroe. Where were you on March 17th between noon and 3 p.m.? Claudette's first answer came quick. Too quick. At work. I work at Greenfield Medical Billing. I was there all day. Monroe. Can anyone confirm that? Claudette. My co-workers, my supervisor. Anyone there can tell you. Monroe took a break, made phone calls, spoke to Claudette's supervisor directly. The supervisor said, she left for lunch around 11:45, came back at 3:30, said she had a personal errand. 3.5 hours. Not a lunch break, a disappearance. Monroe returned to the interview room, sat down, looked Claudette in the eye. Claudette, your supervisor says you were gone from 11:45 to 3:30. Claudette's face shifted. Realization. She'd been caught in a lie. Second answer. Oh, right. I forgot. I went to run errands. Monroe. What errands? Claudette. Grocery store, bank, just errands. Monroe. Which grocery store? Claudette. Kroger on 8 Mile. Monroe leaned back. We'll check their security footage. What time were you there? Claudette paused. Long pause. I don't remember exactly. Monroe. You don't remember what time you went to the grocery store 3 days ago? Claudette's voice got defensive. It was just a quick stop. While Claudette was being interviewed, Detective Wu was canvassing the neighborhood again, going door to door, showing photos, asking questions. He knocked on Mrs. Rodriguez's door, the neighbor across the street, showed her a photo lineup, 6 women, similar age, similar build. Do you recognize any of these women? Mrs. Rodriguez looked at the photos, pointed immediately. That's her. The woman who came to the house that day. She was pointing at Claudette's photo. Silver Honda Accord. I remember because I thought it was odd she was there. Tasha had mentioned they weren't close. Wu asked about timing. Mrs. Rodriguez was specific. Saw the car arrive around 12:10 p.m. Saw it leave around 3:45 p.m., 3.5 hours. That put Claudette at the house during the time of death. Between 1:30 and 3 p.m., she was the last person to see Tasha alive. Except she hadn't mentioned it. Hadn't said a word about being there. Detective Wu walked into the interview room. Claudette looked up. Monroe and Wu made eye contact. Wu spoke first. Mrs. Thompson, we have a witness who saw your car at 2847 Fairview Drive on March 17th. Claudette's face drained of color. What? Monroe, were you at your son's house that day? Third answer, completely different from the first two. I stopped by briefly. Monroe, how briefly? Claudette, maybe 20 minutes. Wu, our witness says your car was there from 12:10 p.m. to 3:45 p.m. Claudette's voice went sharp. That can't be right. Monroe, why didn't you mention you were there? Claudette, I didn't think it mattered. Monroe leaned forward. Your daughter-in-law was murdered, and you were at the house, and you didn't think it mattered? Claudette's voice cracked. I left before anything happened. Monroe caught it immediately. So something did happen? Claudette realized her mistake. Backtracked. No. I left, and she was fine. During the interview, forensic results started coming in. Text messages to Monroe's phone, updates from the crime lab, and they were damning. First, fingerprints on the broken coffee table piece found in the trash. Match, Claudette Thompson. Second, blood in the kitchen sink drain. DNA analysis complete. Primary DNA, Taka Thompson. Secondary DNA, Claudette Thompson. Claudette's blood mixed with Tasha's, from the defensive scratches. Third, fiber evidence. Blue cotton fibers found on Tasha's body. Matched to a sweater found behind the couch cushion. Tags matched brands Claudette typically wears. Fourth, soil samples. Mud on shoes taken from Claudette's home during the search warrant execution that morning. Mineral composition match. Soil from inside the victim's house. Not from outside, from inside. Monroe looked at her phone, read the updates, then looked at Claudette. We found your fingerprints on a piece of furniture in Tasha's house. Claudette, I've been to their house many times. Monroe, this piece was broken. It was in the trash. Claudette, I don't know how it got there. Monroe, we also found blood, yours and Tasha's, mixed together in the kitchen sink drain. Claudette's voice went quiet. That's impossible. Monroe, is it? Long pause. The room was silent except for the hum of the recording equipment. Monroe, why don't you tell us what really happened that day? Claudette broke down, tears streaming, hands shaking. We argued, okay? We argued. Her voice was defensive, angry even through the tears. She told me I wasn't allowed at the hospital, that I couldn't see my own grandchild being born. My grandchild. After everything I did for Darnell. After I raised him alone. After I sacrificed everything. Monroe, so you went there to talk to her? Claudette, yes, to make her understand. Monroe, understand what? Claudette, that Darnell is my son, that I have rights too. Wu, what happened during the argument? Claudette, she got upset, started yelling, told me to leave, called me controlling, said I was toxic. Monroe, And then, Claudette paused. Long pause. She fell. Monroe. She fell? Claudette. Yes, she lost her balance. Hit the table. I tried to help her, but... Monroe. But what? Claudette. She was hurt. I panicked. I didn't know what to do. Monroe. So you left her there? Claudette, crying harder now. I thought she would be okay. Wu jumped in. You thought a pregnant woman who'd just fallen and hit her stomach would be okay. Claudette. I was scared. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. It was an accident. Just an accident. But the medical examiner's report told a different story. Tasha didn't die from the fall. She died from asphyxiation. Someone smothered her. Someone held a pillow over her face for 90 seconds while she struggled. While she fought. While she scratched and clawed trying to breathe. That's not an accident. That's murder. And Claudette's partial confession didn't explain that. Didn't explain the pillow fibers in Tasha's nose and throat. Didn't explain why she cleaned up. Didn't explain why she hid evidence. Didn't explain why she tried to flee the country. Claudette's house was searched on March 24th, with a warrant signed by Judge Harold Perkins, 6 officers, crime scene technicians, forensic specialists. They went through everything, every room, every closet, every drawer. And what they found sealed her fate. In Claudette's bedroom closet, hanging between other clothes, they found a navy blue cardigan sweater. Small tear in the right sleeve. The fabric was slightly damp. Recently washed. Someone had tried to clean it. Tried to remove evidence. But forensics don't lie. Forensic analysis came back within 48 hours. Fiber match to those found on Tasha's body. 99.7% certainty. The tear pattern was consistent with being grabbed during a struggle. Someone had grabbed Claudette's sleeve, held on, pulled, and despite the washing, DNA traces remained in the seams. Places water doesn't fully penetrate. DNA found Tasha Thompson. Skin cells from contact, from the moment Tasha fought for her life. But here's what made this sweater crucial. When crime scene investigators brought it back to Darnell's house as part of evidence verification, Booker was there. The sweater was placed in an evidence bag on the kitchen counter. Clear plastic. Sealed. Booker entered the room, immediately fixated on the bag, walked toward it, then stopped. His entire body went rigid, and he started barking aggressively. Same fear-aggression response as with Claudette herself. Same terror. Same reaction. Dr. Blake was consulted again. The canine behaviorist. He explained. Dogs detect scent molecules at parts per trillion. Their olfactory system is 10,000 times more powerful than humans. Even after washing, fabric retains scent in deep fibers. Microscopic pockets where water doesn't reach. This dog is reacting to the scent he associates with trauma. The scent that was in the room when his owner was murdered. This sweater was present during the attack. Also found in Claudette's home, a pair of black slip-on shoes. In the garage, partially hidden behind storage boxes. Pushed back, out of sight, soil caked in the treads, dark, damp, recently worn. Forensic soil analysis was precise. Soil composition, 67% clay, 22% silt, 11% sand. Mineral markers, specific to the Detroit area. Microscopic plant material examined under high-powered microscopes. Grass clippings from the victim's yard. Exact match to soil from inside the victim's living room. Not from outside. From inside. From the carpet where Tasha died. Claudette had claimed she hadn't been inside the house in weeks. The soil told a different story. Told investigators she'd been standing in that living room. Standing where Tasha fell. Standing where Tasha died. Phone records came back from the subpoena. Claudette's phone activity on March 17th painted a timeline. 11:52 a.m. Phone left work area. Cell tower data showed movement. 12:08 p.m. Phone arrived near Fairview Drive. Tower ping placed her within 2 blocks of Tasha's house. Then, between 12:15 p.m. and 2:45 p.m., multiple Google searches, all from the same location, all while she was inside that house. How long can someone survive without oxygen? Can pregnant women survive falls? Signs of head trauma. What happens if you don't call 911? She was searching these terms while still at the house, while Tasha was dying, while her baby was dying, maybe even after they were already dead, looking up information, calculating, trying to figure out if she could get away with it. 2:50 p.m. Phone began moving away from the location, heading back toward work. 3:15 p.m. Another search. How do police determine time of death? She was already thinking about the investigation, already planning her defense, already covering her tracks. 3:47 p.m. Phone arrived back at work area. She clocked back in, told her supervisor she'd been running errands. Sat at her desk, answered phones, like nothing had happened, like she hadn't just killed her daughter-in-law and granddaughter. March 25th, 2019. 6 a.m. A team of officers arrived at Claudette's house. Detective Monroe led the arrest. They knocked, announced themselves. Claudette opened the door in her bathrobe, hair disheveled, eyes wide. "What's going on?" "Monroe, we have a warrant for your arrest." They entered the house and found Claudette packing a suitcase. Items found in the suitcase: passport, $8,500 in cash, withdrawn from her bank account the day before, one-way ticket to Caracas, Venezuela, flight scheduled for March 26th, the next day. She was running. Detective Monroe read her rights. "Claudette Thompson, you're under arrest for the murder of Tasha Thompson." Claudette's only response: "I want a lawyer." Charges filed: first-degree murder, homicide of a viable fetus, tampering with evidence, obstruction of justice. Bail was denied. Flight risk: clear evidence she was planning to flee the country. The judge said she posed a danger to the community and was unlikely to return for trial. She was booked into Wayne Jail. Mugshot taken at 7:42 a.m. Eyes red, face blank. No emotion, no remorse. Just a woman who'd been caught. The story hit the news by noon. Local stations ran it first. Then national outlets picked it up. Mother-in-law arrested for murdering pregnant daughter-in-law. Dog's behavior leads police to killer. The case went viral. Social media exploded. True crime forums dissected every detail. Everyone had an opinion. Everyone had a theory. But the evidence spoke for itself. September 11th, 2019. Wayne Court. Judge Marianne Foster presiding. The trial everyone had been waiting for. People of Michigan versus Claudette Thompson. The courtroom packed. A mother-in-law accused of murdering her pregnant daughter-in-law. A dog who witnessed it all. Jury selection took 3 days. Jury pool of 80 people. The challenge: finding jurors not already exposed to media coverage. This case had been everywhere. Local news, national outlets, social media, true crime podcasts. Everyone had heard about it. But attorneys on both sides needed people who could set aside what they'd heard and judge based only on evidence presented in court. Final jury: 12 jurors, 4 alternates. Mix of ages, backgrounds, professions. All residents of Wayne County. Judge Foster's instruction was clear. You must base your verdict only on evidence presented in this courtroom. Not on news reports, not on social media, not on emotions. Only facts. Opening statements began on September 14th. Prosecution went first. Assistant District Attorney Simone Carter. 38 years old. 15 years as a prosecutor. Known for her methodical approach. Her ability to connect with juries. She stood in front of the jury box, made eye contact with each juror, then began. Claudette Thompson couldn't control her son anymore. His wife was taking him away from her, and when boundaries were finally set, she snapped. She went to that house not to apologize, but to confront, and when the confrontation turned violent, she made a choice. She chose to kill Tasha Thompson rather than face the consequences of her actions. Carter described the evidence. Forensic proof Claudette was there. Medical evidence showing asphyxiation. Phone searches showing consciousness of guilt. Attempted flight to Venezuela. Her closing point hit hard. The only witness who couldn't be manipulated or intimidated was a dog, and that dog knew exactly who killed his owner. Defense attorney Martin Holloway stood next. 62 years old, veteran defense lawyer, 35 years of experience, known for his ability to create reasonable doubt. His strategy was simple. This is a tragedy, but it's not murder. My client made a terrible mistake. She panicked, but she never intended to kill anyone. His alternative narrative. Two women had an argument. Things got heated. Physical. Tasha fell, hit her head. Claudette, in shock, made the worst decision of her life. She left. But leaving someone isn't murder. It's panic. It's fear. He attacked the dog evidence directly. The prosecution wants you to believe a dog is a reliable witness, but dogs don't testify. They don't take oaths. They react. This dog was traumatized. He'd react negatively to anyone associated with that day. Week 1. Prosecution's case. Establishing the crime. Witness 1. Detective Lisa Monroe. She described the crime scene, walked the jury through the investigation, introduced evidence, showed photos, explained the timeline. Her testimony lasted 6 hours over 2 days. The jury took notes, watched intently. Witness 2. Dr. Raymond Foster, medical examiner. He explained cause of death, asphyxiation, testified about injuries, timeline of death. The defense tried to argue during cross-examination that the fall could have been fatal. Dr. Foster shut it down immediately. The fall did not kill her. Someone cutting off her air supply killed her. The petechial hemorrhaging in her eyes, the pillow fibers in her nose and throat, these are not consistent with a fall. These are consistent with smothering. Witness 3. Mrs. Elena Rodriguez, the neighbor. She saw Claudette's car, heard the argument, testified to the timeline, identified Claudette from a photo lineup. That was her. Silver Honda Accord. I saw her arrive around 12:10. I saw her leave around 3:45. Defense tried to discredit her during cross-examination. Suggested her memory was faulty. But Mrs. Rodriguez held firm. I know what I saw. I've lived on that street for 30 years. I pay attention. Witness 4. Dr. Angela Liu, forensic expert. She explained fingerprint evidence, DNA from blood in the sink, fiber evidence from the sweater, soil analysis from the shoes. Her testimony was technical, precise, irrefutable. The defense couldn't shake her, couldn't poke holes in the science. Then came the dog evidence. Ada Carter made a bold decision. She called Dr. Terrence Blake to testify about canine behavior, and she brought Booker to court. The defense objected immediately, argued it was prejudicial, theatrical, but Judge Foster allowed it. The dog's behavior is relevant circumstantial evidence. The jury can decide what weight to give it. Dr. Blake explained how dogs form scent memories, described trauma-bonded fear responses, testified that Booker's behavior was highly specific and consistent with witnessing violence perpetrated by a specific individual. Then, with the judge's permission, prosecutors conducted a controlled test. 5 women, similar age and build to Claudette, stood in the courthouse hallway. One of them was Claudette. All spread out, equal distance apart. Booker, handled by a professional canine trainer, walked past each one. The courtroom was silent. Everyone watching. Booker walked calmly past the first woman, then the second, then the third, then the fourth. No reaction, just a normal dog being walked down a hallway. Then he approached the 5th woman, Claudette. He stopped. His entire body went rigid, hair raised along his spine, ears back. A low growl started in his throat. He backed away, refused to walk closer. The canine trainer tried to encourage him forward. Booker planted his feet, wouldn't move. Defense attorney Holloway was on his feet immediately. This is a circus, Your Honor. This isn't scientific evidence. Judge Foster. Objection overruled. The dog's behavior is admissible as circumstantial evidence in combination with other forensic evidence. That moment became the defining image of the trial. Photos of Booker's reaction made every news outlet. Video went viral. People debated it online. But in that courtroom, the jury saw it happen in real time. Saw a dog react to one specific person. The defendant. Week 2. Defense's case. Against her lawyer's advice, Claudette chose to testify. She wanted to tell her side. Holloway had advised against it, told her it was too risky, that the prosecution would tear her apart on cross-examination. But Claudette insisted. I need them to hear from me. I need them to understand. Direct examination by the defense. Claudette spoke directly to the jury. I loved my son. I only wanted what was best for him. Tatcha changed him, took him away from me. I went there that day to try to fix things. We argued. She told me I was toxic, that I would never see my grandchild. I got angry. I pushed her. She fell. I saw she was hurt. I was scared. I tried to help her up, but she pushed me away. I didn't know what to do, so I left. Her critical claim, I never touched her after she fell. I just left. Then came cross-examination. Ada Carter's approach was methodical destruction. She didn't rush, didn't get emotional, just asked questions. Let the answers speak for themselves. Carter. You said you tried to help her up? Claudette. Yes. Carter. But forensic evidence shows Tatcha had pillow fibers in her nose and throat. How did those get there if you just left? Claudette. I don't know. Carter. You searched, how long can someone survive without oxygen on your phone at 12:47 p.m.? Why? Claudette. I was panicking. Carter. Panicking, or checking if she was dead yet? Defense. Objection. Judge. Sustained. But the damage was done. The jury had heard the question, seen Claudette's face when it was asked. Carter continued. You washed blood off your hands in her kitchen sink, blood that mixed yours and Tasha's, correct? Claudette. She scratched me during the argument. Carter. And then you threw away the piece of furniture she hit, tried to hide your sweater, planned to flee to Venezuela. These are the actions of someone who made a terrible mistake? Claudette was breaking down, tears streaming, voice shaking. I didn't mean for her to die. Carter leaned forward. But she did die, and you made sure she couldn't be saved. The cross-examination lasted 4 hours. Carter went through every piece of evidence, every inconsistency in Claudette's story, every Google search, every attempt to cover up what happened. By the end, Claudette was sobbing, mascara running, barely able to speak. The jury watched in silence. Some took notes, some just stared. All of them were processing what they'd heard. The evidence, the testimony, the defendant's own words condemning her. September 29, 2019. Closing arguments. Both sides made their final pleas. This was it. The last chance to convince the jury. The last opportunity to sway 12 people who held Claudette Thompson's fate in their hands. Prosecution went first. Adia Simone Carter stood before the jury. Her emotional appeal was direct. Tatcha Thompson was 3 weeks away from holding her daughter. 3 weeks from hearing her first cry. 3 weeks from becoming the mother she'd dreamed of being. Claudette Thompson took that away, not in a moment of passion, but in a calculated decision to silence her. Carter recapped the evidence. She was there. We have proof. Ring doorbell footage, neighbor testimony, cell tower data. She killed her. Medical examiner confirmed it. Asphyxiation, pillow fibers in nose and throat. She tried to cover it up. Forensics don't lie. Blood in the sink. Sweater hidden behind the couch. Broken furniture in the trash. She tried to flee. Plane ticket doesn't lie. One way to Venezuela. $8,000 cash. Passport ready. Even the dog knows the truth. Booker saw what happened, and his reaction tells you everything you need to know. Her final line. Justice for Tatcha means holding her killer accountable, no matter who that killer is. Defense attorney Martin Holloway stood next. His reasonable doubt strategy was clear. The prosecution wants you to believe my client is a monster. But she's a woman who made a horrible mistake. There's no evidence she intended to kill anyone. Panic, fear, bad judgment. Yes, but premeditated murder? No. His alternative explanation. What if Tatcha's injuries from the fall were more severe than anyone realized? What if my client genuinely believed she'd be okay? What if everything that followed was just bad decisions compounding tragedy? His final line, "If you have reasonable doubt, and you should, you must acquit." The jury deliberated for 4.5 days, September 29th through October 3rd. They asked to review evidence 3 times, wanted to see the forensic reports again, the phone records, the timeline. They watched the medical examiner's testimony again. Listened to Dr. Foster explain cause of death. They asked to see photos of the crime scene, photos of Tatcha's body, photos of the injuries, and they asked one unusual question, sent via note to the judge. "Can we see the video of the dog's reaction to the defendant again?" Judge Foster's response, "Yes." The video was replayed in the courtroom. Jury watched Booker walk past 4 women calmly, then stop at Claudette, hair raised, growling, backing away. On October 3rd at 2:15 p.m., the jury sent word. They'd reached a verdict. The courtroom filled immediately, packed gallery, media in the back rows. Darnell seated with Tatcha's family, her mother Patricia, her sisters, all of them holding hands, praying. Claudette at the defense table, hands trembling, face pale, defense attorney beside her. Jury filed in. 12 faces. Serious. No one looking at the defendant. Judge Foster. "Has the jury reached a verdict?" Jury foreman stood. Middle-aged black woman. Retired teacher. She'd been elected foreman on the first day of deliberations. "We have, Your Honor." The clerk read the charges. "On the charge of first-degree murder, how do you find?" The foreman looked directly at Claudette. "We find the defendant, Claudette Thompson, guilty." The courtroom erupted. Tatcha's family sobbed. Relief, grief, justice, all mixed together. Darnell dropped his head into his hands, shoulders shaking. Claudette collapsed in her chair, like her legs gave out. Defense attorney held her shoulders, kept her from falling completely. The clerk continued. "On the charge of homicide of a viable fetus, how do you find?" The foreman. "Guilty. 2 counts. Both guilty." Claudette was immediately taken into custody, handcuffed at the defense table, let out through a side door. She looked back at Darnell once. He didn't meet her eyes. Sentencing set for November 15th, 2019, 6 weeks away. Outside the courthouse, media swarmed. ADA Simone Carter gave a statement to the press. "Today, justice was served for Taka Thompson and her unborn daughter Zara. This verdict sends a message. No relationship excuses murder. Not family, not blood, not history. Murder is murder." Taka's mother, Patricia Washington, spoke through tears. "Nothing brings my daughter back. Nothing brings my granddaughter back. But knowing her killer will be held accountable gives us some peace." Taka was kind. She was patient. She tried to make it work with Claudette for years, and this is what she got for it. But today, the jury saw the truth, and we're grateful. Darnell didn't speak directly to the press. His statement was read by Tatcha's sister Shanice. "I lost my wife, my daughter, and my mother in one moment. I don't know how to heal from that. I don't know if I ever will, but I know Tatcha would want justice, and today, she got it." Defense attorney Holloway also spoke. "We disagree with the verdict and plan to appeal. We believe the jury was swayed by emotion rather than evidence. We believe reasonable doubt existed, and we will continue to fight for our client." Social media exploded. Justice for Tatcha, trending worldwide. Millions of posts celebrating the verdict. True crime podcasts rushed episodes analyzing the trial. YouTube channels broke down the evidence. Reddit threads dissected every moment. Everyone had an opinion. Everyone felt like they'd been part of it. But the story wasn't over yet, because Claudette still had to face sentencing, and what the judge said would shock everyone, would force people to confront uncomfortable questions about justice, about punishment, about whether someone who commits an evil act can ever be redeemed. Sentencing in Michigan for first-degree murder carries mandatory life without parole. But the judge allowed victim impact statements first, and what Darnell said silenced the courtroom. Tatcha's mother, Patricia Washington, spoke first. Tasha was my middle child. She was the peacemaker, the one who held the family together. I'll never watch her raise her daughter. I'll never see Zara's first steps, first day of school, first anything, because of you, Claudette, because you couldn't let your son be happy. Tasha's sister, Shanice Washington, spoke next. My sister called me 2 weeks before she died. She said, "I'm finally setting boundaries. I'm protecting my family." Those boundaries cost her her life. How do you kill someone for wanting peace? Then Darnell Thompson walked to the podium slowly. He'd written a statement, but couldn't read it. Instead, he spoke from his heart. I trusted you with everything. You raised me, taught me right from wrong. You told me to be a good man, to protect my family. And then you became the one I needed to protect them from. Tasha was kind to you, even when you weren't kind back. She tried. She invited you to dinners, sent you photos of the ultrasound, and you hated her for loving me. I think about that day constantly, what she must have felt when she realized you weren't going to call for help. How scared she must have been. For herself. For our daughter. His voice breaking. But you know what haunts me most? Booker tried to warn me. Every time you came around after she died, he knew, and I didn't listen. My dog knew before I did that you killed her. How do I live with that? His final words, I don't forgive you. I can't. You took everything from me, and I hope every day in prison you remember what you did. The courtroom was silent. Several jurors wiped tears. Even the defense attorney looked down. Claudette stared at the table, expressionless. Judge Foster asked, Ms. Thompson, do you wish to address the court? Claudette stood. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't mean anything. I know sorry doesn't bring her back, but I never meant for this to happen. She spoke for 3 minutes. Never once said Tasha's name. Never acknowledged Zara. Just repeated, I'm sorry, over and over. Ada Carter observed later in an interview, even at sentencing, it was all about her. Her regret, her pain, her loss. Not once did she talk about what Taka lost. Judge Marianne Foster delivered the sentence. Ms. Thompson, I've presided over hundreds of cases in my career. I've seen crimes of passion, crimes of greed, crimes of desperation. But what you did was something else entirely. You killed a woman who'd done nothing but marry your son and try to build a life. You killed her unborn child, your own grandchild, to maintain control. You left her to die on her living room floor. You tried to cover it up. You tried to flee the country. And even now, sitting before this court, you show no real understanding of the magnitude of what you've done. On the charge of first-degree murder, life without possibility of parole. On the charge of homicide of a viable fetus, life without possibility of parole. Sentences to run concurrently. You will die in prison, Ms. Thompson. The judge's final words. And perhaps that's fitting, because Tasha Thompson will never leave her living room. Her daughter will never take a breath. And you will never know freedom again. Where they are now. Claudette Thompson is currently incarcerated at Women's Hern Correctional Facility. Her appeal was denied in March 2020. Darnell has never visited. No contact with him. Darnell Thompson still lives with Taka's family. He returned to work in January 2020, just before the pandemic. Started a foundation called Tasha and Zara's Light that supports children who've lost mothers to violence. He has not dated anyone since Tasha's death. Still has Booker. Booker the dog remains with Darnell. Underwent behavioral therapy for trauma. Now visits schools as a therapy dog. A children's book was written about him called The Dog Who Remembered. All proceeds go to domestic violence shelters. Tasha's family holds an annual memorial on March 17th. Started a scholarship fund in Taka's name for education majors. Patricia Washington says, "We keep her memory alive through helping others. If your loved one was taken from you by someone you trusted, could you ever find peace?" This case closed on November 15th, 2019. Claudette Thompson was convicted, sentenced, locked away. But the questions it raised didn't end. Forensic psychologist Dr. Maya Jenkins spoke about maternal narcissism. Some parents don't see their children as separate individuals. They see them as extensions of themselves. When that child asserts independence, the parent experiences it as abandonment. In extreme cases, like Claudette's, that feeling of abandonment can trigger rage. On the murder itself, the moment she pushed Tatcha and saw her fall, Claudette had a choice: call for help and face consequences, or eliminate the threat permanently. She chose violence over accountability. Domestic violence expert Karen Matthews identified patterns: controlling behavior escalating over years, isolation attempts, Claudette trying to keep Darnell from Tasha's family, boundary violations, unannounced visits, sabotage of relationship milestones, possessive language, my son, my grandchild. On red flags missed, Tasha recognized the toxicity, but didn't realize the danger. Most people don't think their mother-in-law will kill them. But familial violence is more common than we acknowledge. Dr. Terrence Blake, the canine behaviorist, spoke about Booker's behavior. This dog's reaction was textbook trauma-associated fear. He witnessed violence. His brain linked Claudette's scent to that violence. That's not trained behavior. That's instinct. On broader implications, there are dozens of cases where animals' behavior pointed to perpetrators. We need to take these signs seriously in investigations. On Booker's recovery, he's doing remarkably well. Dogs are resilient when they have a stable, loving environment. Darnell gave him that. Some things we'll never know. Did Claudette go to the house that day planning to kill Tasha? She denies it. Forensics suggest she brought nothing with her. But the speed of the cover-up suggests premeditation. What were Tasha's last words? Only Claudette knows. She's never said. If Mrs. Rodriguez had called 911 when she heard shouting, would Tasha have survived? Maybe. Medical experts say possibly. But we'll never know. Will Claudette ever truly accept responsibility? Prison interviews suggest no. She still frames herself as the victim. My son abandoned me, she told a reporter. March 17, 2019, Tasha Thompson woke up expecting an ordinary Friday. She'd go to her doctor's appointment, come home, relax. She didn't know that by sunset she'd be gone, taken by someone who was supposed to be family, but she's not forgotten. Her students remember her patience. Her family remembers her laughter. Her husband remembers her love. And a dog named Booker remembers the truth. Because in the end, Booker did what no human could. He couldn't speak, couldn't testify, couldn't point a finger, but he remembered. And sometimes, memory is the most powerful witness of all. If a mother can kill her son's pregnant wife to keep control, what other secrets hide behind closed doors? What other families are one argument away from tragedy? And when do boundaries meant to protect become death sentences? These are questions we don't want to ask, but cases like Tasha's force us to face them. Because ignoring the warning signs doesn't make the danger disappear. It just means we won't see it coming. This case is closed, but others remain open. What warning signs have you ignored? What boundaries need to be set? Share your thoughts below.